Okay, I think we're live Tuesday, the 13th of whatever, May 13th. Yes, 13th of May. Higher League Chill. We're going to really try to start to do this again every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Have Chelsea and I'll introduce Chelsea here in a minute, but Chelsea and I were just talking about the kids stuff, and I've got a senior in high school that's been playing a lot of baseball and stuff, so it's hard for me I don't miss their stuff if at all possible. And it is always pretty possible to not miss it. So that's why it's been sporadic, but we're going to, her last game was last week or this past week. So hopefully we'll get back on track. And we used to go at 4 p.m. It'll probably be 3 p.m. I haven't talked a lot about, the economy stuff. That changes like daily now and hourly now, it seems. So who knows what's going on with stuff. That'll bring up a good question with you guys here. So we've got Chelsea on. Chelsea is from Clipa. Chelsea's a good friend of ours, and she's been on a couple other times, of course. Chelsea, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much, Sean. How are you today?
Man. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Things are good. The weather's breaking a little bit, which means does it really mean Christmas lights when we get 80 degrees, 70 degrees in Ohio?
Of course, definitely. Then Chris Santa is coming. We're closer. We're halfway there. If it's getting warm.
Right. That's right. If you count the number of Fridays or something like that, then it's real close. Yeah. Tell some people about you that don't know about you, like I'm sure most do, but those handful that don't.
Yeah, my name is Chelsea. I'm the sales and marketing manager for Clipa, the Christmas Light Installation Pros Association, and we do a bunch of really cool stuff. So Clipa, if you haven't heard of us, we are a group of installers, and we do a bunch of cool stuff. So primarily we provide education. Anyone who's looking to get into the industry, or even if you have an established Christmas business, we provide training, resources. We have a portal that you can log on to. So we do residential, commercial, virtual, and in person. And then every year we have an annual conference where we bring everyone together. And so every year we're like, hey, let's bring you the best vendors, the best education, and the best resources so that you can continue to make money in your home service business. Aside from that, we do other cool stuff too. So we install our corporate offices in Southern California. So we operate here out of California, and we just expanded to Las Vegas, which is really exciting. And then we also have a warehouse. We sell christmaslights.com, and we distribute nationwide and in Canada. So anyone who needs wholesale supplies, we got you covered.
That is it, man. And so I always talk with people about business, of course, right? And we're jabbering away out there, sitting at the baseball game and talking. People are really now. 5 years ago, I would be rapping or with somebody about Christmas lights and be like, "What? How much do they make doing lights? Or what are they doing? And what's all that?" And what do you mean July? Christmas in July and all that? I mean, people were like, "What are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. I got a client I recruit for super bionic recruiting for like a month and a half just to get get installers." And we got 25 for them. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? Like literally they have no idea what I'm talking about. And it'll be like, yeah, the dude does like $2 million in like 4 months, and really we've got a client that does do that. So, but recently it's not like, what are you talking about? Really? It's gotten that, it's like, I know about the industry now, but my God, it's got that big. And you guys were really instrumental. I talked to people in different industries. Debbie Sardone's huge, and the maid service. And so many of those people have just taken it from hiring somebody that works out of their car with a vacuum cleaner and a couple rags and slams the trunk and then goes clean a house to, no, you can make $50,000 a year cleaning homes for a professional house cleaning company now. That's a whole different ball game. And just you guys, I think were I know. Were like the seed that was planted that Matt and you guys came up with that sprouted, and I believe the originals are certainly right in there. Tell me a little bit about that story and how Clipa came about.
Yeah. So originally it started in 2017. It was a Facebook group, installers helping installers. Hey, I live in Minnesota, you live in Arizona, or wherever. People who have had the experience are just like commenting, an open forum. Really. And then as the years progressed, we were like, hey, Matt and his other business partner were like, hey, let's start a professional training program where people can be a part of something. And of course, in the beginning, I think we all forget the reason why Christmas lights was so amazing, of course, we love the high profit margins, but it really kept people, if you were in an area where it got cold and you had to let your employees go or lay them off, or, you know, you didn't bring up any income the last quarter of the year, well into the first quarter, that could be very scary. And what Christmas lights did for a lot of people was gave them stability within their business. And it still does that. And I think that we all lose track because we see the people who are, oh, I'm doing, you know, 6 figures in 6 weeks. I'm doing $1 million in 6 weeks. And that sounds really appealing, which it is, right? But mainly the most important thing is this is what keeps people afloat. And I think that that's the most important thing. And what's amazing about Christmas now is that we are extending our holiday throughout the entire year. It's not just the last quarter of the year and some takedowns in January. We have permanent lighting. A lot of people are dipping into landscape lighting. So don't just think Christmas. It's all inclusive. Everything that has to do with lights, we're going to do it, you know. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, you know. I mean, if you could bring in even a few thousand, a couple $100,000 in the first quarter of the year, I think that would change a lot of people's businesses. And that's what lighting is doing, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And that was the other industry. Permanent lighting has come a long way as well. It's been around a while, landscape lighting and things like that, but it really is a couple people like Ryan Lee and others have really leveled it up big time, man. I mean, it is amazing what's happened in that arena too. And the margins are huge in that space too. I mean, landscape lighting and install and service and stuff like that I mean, you know, you think about who a client is for that level of service. Usually somebody that's got some money to throw around, and it's not always money's not always the problem. So you've really got a good clientele there as well, right?
Yep, exactly.
Especially commercial though too, right? I mean, so that's another part of that.
We do. So we are dealing with cities. We're dealing with shopping centers, casinos, Christmas walkthroughs, production companies, like you name it. We have a pretty extensive portfolio, which is nice. I've been with the company since 2018. And when we started, we had a lot of smaller accounts. And then, you know, I really started selling commercial for us in 2020. And that's when I was like jump started. They were like, hey, and I have a cold calling background. So I was like, okay. And I've sold like pretty bad things, like extend your vehicle's extended warranties expired. Yeah. Or your Google listing. I did all of that stuff. The warranties, I did that for a really long time. So then when I made the switch and I came here, when people are like, oh, call about Christmas, everybody likes to talk about Christmas.
Right.
Everybody likes to get on the phone. And, you know, most of these cities or commercial properties, I should say, in general, they have a budget for holiday. They either need to drive traffic and bring people there, or they're doing something for the community, which is really important. So I truly believe in everything that I do. And I know that if everybody knew how hard we work here at this company, they would call us and use us for their service. It would be a no-brainer.
Yeah. I've gotten to know you guys over the years, and I mean, you guys are all just first class, and whatever you guys talk about, whatever you say, take it to the bank, for sure. And as I say, you know, we've partnered on some things with clients and providing some services, recruiting services, and so on. And you know, you're right, Chelsea. That you know that is forgotten about. How do you bridge that gap between getting rid of your seasonal employees and keeping, you know, the worst thing you do is have to give away this guy that's making a ton of dough for you, or this gal that's making a ton of dough for you. They're showing up every day. They've got some leadership qualities, and then, hey, got to lay off. You know, you drop your odds of them coming back substantially by doing that. And that's a nice bridge. The landscape or the Christmas light hanging. So there's a lot of dynamics. Again, these are things that you guys have changed along the way. It was a Facebook group organically to how do we help businesses? What are the pros of this? What can they get from this? And you know, and now your supply, you know, there's just a whole array of things that you guys do. What is it that you would say is maybe the number one obstacle that you hear when you're talking to people that aren't in the business right now, that are kind of on the shelf going, you know, they go through a hard season, they're winding down, and it's like, give me a break, I need oxygen for 2 months. Your bank account says otherwise, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say Of course, we have a training program, and we want people to come to training and get education. However, I don't think it's for everyone. Like, if you're not willing to take the action and get busy in your business, then don't do it. You don't need a huge investment to start in Christmas lights, but if you're going to take the training and not do anything with it, or take the training and then say, hey, I have a better way, then you're not going to get the results of it. I always tell people, I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you the recipe for the perfect cake. This training is an award-winning cake that if you follow this recipe, you will have an award-winning cake. Right. But it's like the people who are like, well, I want to add a little bit more vanilla, or I want to use brown sugar instead of, hey, I gave you the perfect recipe to the perfect cake. Now you're changing it up and you're wondering why it's not working, So, if you think you're not going to do anything, I would say don't take the training. It's for people who want to get busy, get into action. And our trainings, regional trainings for residential, they're going to start in the next, we had a virtual one last month, but in June is when things start really picking up. But the trainings themselves we only have maybe 8 events over 3 months. That's not a lot of time to choose and be like him-ha about it, because the reality of the situation is I start taking the training, immediately I need to start getting stuff in place as far as like estimating, marketing. I need to, if I'm not placing an order for supplies, I need to know what supplies cost so I can figure out my cost. Like all of those things that if you're like, hey, I want to do this October 1st, you can do it, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult is all.
For sure. Yeah. So you guys, if do each of these, I think you said like 8 trainings over a few months. Are they themed, or are they the same training, or is it this one's on commercial, this one? How does that work?
So we actually, for the residential certifications, those will all be only on residential. We had one in-person commercial training at the beginning of the year. One thing we have to keep in mind with commercial properties is that most of those budgets are set within the first quarter. So it's hard to do it later. And we kind of contemplated, because we're like, oh, we only have one on the schedule. So like, how do we accommodate people for the commercial side? And we're like, hey, let's bundle that in for ClipaCon this year, which is our conference for advanced classes for people who have a little bit of experience, or it's kind of like the next level. We're like, hey, I'm ready to take it up a notch. We're like, we'll include some commercial there, but that's a boot camp. So we're going to be writing scripts, getting on the phone, cold calling, which is my favorite thing to do, to make other business owners cold call, because they're like so scared. I can't see you,
Yeah. I used to do that back a long time ago, about 30 some years ago. I used to do that. I worked with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I was behind the rental counter, and they promoted me like in, I don't know, it was like 7 months later into what they called, I think back then, the fleet management. So my job as a 24-year-old kid back then from Cleveland, and I was working in the Motor City. I was working in Detroit at the time. So I'm a young kid from Cleveland going to Detroit, pounding the phone. And, most of these people are like 50, 60-year-old dudes that have been in the Motor City all their lives. And I'm like, I can tell you how to buy cars better than you can. Come ahead, as a kid from Cleveland. So that's what I did. It was pound the phone, pound the phone, pound the phone, pound the phone. One out of every whatever. Yeah, send me something. Yeah. So I get that game. I was really good at it. But it's hard work, man. It really is. If you get the right attitude with it, where it's like, whoever I'm talking to, I have no idea who they are. I owe them nothing. Okay. If they say no, okay. It's not whatever. Once you get in that mindset, you're just going boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
You can sell a lot of stuff when you do it that way.
Oh yeah, smile and dial. I mean, when I started, I was 18, and I thought, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I'm a marketer. My life is over. And I was living with friends. My friends were like, hey, you need to keep this job because you have rent to pay. So you need to stay until they fire you. And I cried, and I'm like, this is terrible. And I went the next day and I read the script, and then I just started getting it. And then I was there for a long time. And, now looking back, I'm like, wow, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I learned how to really take rejection too. I learned how that it's okay if somebody tells me no, and my job doesn't start until I hear that first no. And then another thing too is like, it's okay. For every 10 people that tell me no, the 11th person will tell me yes. Sure. And I just persevere through that. And now I'm like, I take every call the same. I smile and dial. I talk with my hands just like this, because then I really sound like a normal person. I don't sound like I'm excited about it, so.
Big time. Big time. Yeah. So you had mentioned, I want to make sure I cover 2 things. We'll talk about ClipaCon here shortly. You had mentioned you have a big warehouse with a bunch of supplies and products in there. Talk a little bit more about that, what that's all about, and how that can you get access to that stuff without being a member of Clipa or going through the training or not? Or talk a little bit more about that.
Great question. So yes, we do have a warehouse where we have all of your commercial grade basics. So not the same stuff that you're going to get at like Home Depot or Lowe's. This is all commercial grade, meant to last several seasons, which is great because that's how your margins are high when you continue to reuse this stuff. So anything that you need, we're able to supply for you. Anyone can purchase from us. Any installers can. However, if you have trained with us, you do get deeper discounts on products, which is always an incentive. So we just want to make sure, and the people who train with us, we always say like, hey, you don't have to buy from us, but sometimes we make it hard for you not to, in other words. So another thing I will bring up too is that we do have year-round in-house staff. We have 4 sales reps that are here year-round to assist our installers, whether they're working on a big project, they need help placing their first order, whatever that is. We have a fully trained staff that are very experienced and are here to hold your hand. That's what we do, is we do hold a lot of hands. Yeah. I always say too, I'm like, in season, we provide therapy because it's like, so it's like not even, I'm like, some people will call, I'm like, how's it going?
Right.
Feeling right now, take a deep breath, because we know it's a lot of pressure, and Christmas is not for everyone. You really have to be prepared because, if you're not, then that could ruin a lot of money you could be making.
Big time. And it's because it's such a short seasonal thing. So when the installs are happening for residential, especially, time is of the essence, man. And then you've got a battle in some parts of the country. Probably most parts of the country. Is weather going to permit us to go out there this week? These 3 days, there's so much that goes into it. So, I couldn't imagine doing it and just trying to figure it out. And then, we always talk about that with, programs and coaching programs and so on and so forth, but it's true. I've talked to a couple of people that have tried to start it up. It's taken them 4 years to get it down, and it's still not down, and then end up going to Clipa anyway. It's like, why did you waste the 4 years of probably 80, 90, 100 grand of doing that and all the sleepless nights while your wife's getting a divorce papers ready for you to sign? Just go to Clipa and get it done, man. Yeah. Talk about ClipaCon. What's going on with ClipaCon now?
Yeah, so ClipaCon this year is going to be in Nashville, August 19th and 20th. We're doing it at the Gaylord Opryland. This will be right before the huge convention. So this will be nice if you're going to that show, or if you're like, hey, I just want to get as much education as I can. It'll be a big week for everyone. ClipaCon, of course, everyone is welcome to attend, but ClipaCon, the classes are going to be geared for people who do have an established business or a little bit of experience in lighting. So the classes will focus, of course, on permanent lighting. We're going to have that commercial sales boot camp. We'll have a LinkedIn class on how to target commercial clients. We will talk about sales. There'll be some coaching classes, of course, if anyone is interested in stuff like that. We're going to have Lightorama there, which Lightorama is a little bit, sometimes people are like, hey, a lot of hobbyists are into it, but we do get a lot of questions of like, how do I create a light show? What are the things that I'm going to do? So we're going to have them do a little breakout. And then we actually do have another gentleman, Michael Simmons, is coming. He's going to do, he has a lot of experience in putting on shows, for personal or for professional use. So he's going to talk about some of those things. We'll have some RGB classes, which, as everybody knows, as we move into the permanent space, color changing app controlled lights or intelligent lighting is very, very popular. So we're going to give you a little bit of everything from the hottest stuff on the market, just to make sure you're educated on that stuff, because we believe that if you have education and you're continue to learn, you'll be able to sell more. And so that's the idea, is how do you keep those margins high? Well, how do you get those bigger clients? The more education. Knowledge is power. So the more you know, I know for me, at least, that's how I've been able to get a lot of these larger accounts, is I'm constantly learning. Hey, what's the new best product? Or, hey, this is the problem that I'm having every season. And, I find out what's my solution, and I get those things, which is great.
That's huge. So. Yeah. And so just a few of those things you had mentioned, just, that answers the question of what's going on in the industry. I mean, I just look back and go, and I see you guys post a lot of cool things, and a lot of your clients posting a lot of cool things with lights, and they're all bragging, and they're doing it with some humility of thanking you guys for allowing us to figure out how to do this, and they post that picture, man. And there's some incredible stuff out there. I don't even understand how it can look the way it looks sometimes. I mean, the timing stuff, so with that said, do you get into a lot of the design then too, or is it just go install and then you guys figure out what, or the client's going to figure out what they want and then go? That's probably the worst thing that can happen. I don't know. Talk about that, because I don't even know.
Yeah. So that's actually a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So we do a lot of things. So we do a lot of, like I said, we do a lot of hand holding. So a lot of our members, especially in the beginning, I'm selling a big project. I don't know where to start, from design to project management. And I've gone on as I pretend like I work for someone else's company. If you were like, hey, Howardly Chill has this big commercial project, we're working with a hotel, I don't know what to do, I'd say, hey, Sean, I'm going to pretend like I work for your company for the day. Schedule a virtual appointment, and I will just let your client know I'm designing implementation. Sean is boots on the ground. I just need to make sure everything looks good and that the project management is handled, and Sean is the muscle, and they love that. And so in return, you get the job, you just buy the product from me. And that's been easy. So I just kind of translate like, hey, this is what works for me. And we've helped people close millions of dollars in holiday lighting and decor for commercial properties and permanent lighting, which is crazy. And it just, and that kind of gives people a boost in the beginning. Like, hey, what do I do? How do I get this going? Of course, I can help you so much, but of course you have to get out there and do the work too. So I say, hey, Sean, go out, use company cam, take photos. This is what I need measurements of. This is what I need from the client. If you can bring these back to me, I can help you build a program from there. And so then we teach you, and then we help you. Hi, Steve. Yeah, of course.
Steve.
Anything we can do to assist,
Yeah. So Steve's up here. Couldn't have grown how we have without Clipa's help. I hear that an awful lot out there. So, with ClipaCon, that's in September, and that's like just before. We talked about the warehouse. We talked a little bit about ClipaCon, but we'll dive into that even more. Commercial, residential. Talked about just the design part of it and things like that. The hands-on stuff, the training. What about marketing and leads, and how your guys can go out there and there's a lot. I keep saying guys, and I mean to encompass everybody with that. And because there are a lot of married teams, and there's a lot of significant other teams out there, and a lot of just good old fashioned kick butt gals out there that are doing stuff. So I mean, everybody's involved with this, man. It doesn't matter.
Yep. There is, of course, like I said, Christmas isn't for everyone. Christmas is the craziest time of the year. And when we are hiring people, even internally, I'm like, hey, it's going to be it's going to be insane. Most of our money is made, the last quarter of the year. So it's go time, all of that prep you've been doing all year. But, I think that anyone can be successful. Marketing, there's a few things, right? If you have a marketing budget that you can spend on, of course, ads and some SEO for your site, that's great. And then we love door hangers, yard signs, and postcards. If you can at least do that, you'll be really successful. That has always worked, and we encourage you to do every door direct and direct mail. That you'll be very successful doing that. However, but there has to be follow through with all of that. So we tell people like, hey, if you're brand new, no budget, you're like, let's just see if this works. Good old yard signs and door hangers. Keep it easy, simple.
For sure.
And that's going to be, if you have money though to budget for that stuff, and that all depends on the size of your company too.
Right.
You do on average, I think we say about 6,500 per day per truck, and that truck is up to maybe 3 people on the truck. So you can figure it out what you can do from there. But of course, you have to have the team that can support you, who's doing your estimates, who's in the office answering the phones, and because if you don't have somebody answering phones,
game over.
Yeah, on the weekends you need those phones answered in season all the time. So a lot of times too, people will pay their employees performance pay. So a lot of people love that around the holidays, a lot of workers, because they're like, hey, if I can work hard and do things the right way, I'm going to get compensated for that. So people end up really enjoying Christmas because they know it pays out, depending on your structure and stuff like that. There's a way to incentivize, but the marketing is really up to you. I would encourage you though, if you can do ads, if you have a good partner. We use Mr. Pipeline and we love working with them. I think marketing though, a lot of people will put money into it and then they'll be like, well, that didn't work. And then they switch or they stop doing it after a few months. And it's like, hey, I can't just run ads for 3 months and 4 months and expect my phone to ring. It's something that has to happen all year long. And then what is the purpose of those ads? Brand authority? Am I trying to get people to sign up now? Like there's so many factors that you really have to get with somebody, a good marketing partner who can educate you and give you the tools that you need when you start getting into the next level stuff. For us, when we're doing marketing, I'm like, that's an investment. And I want to make sure I'm getting all of my money. How are we going to make sure we're getting the most out of that investment? Well, we're asking questions. We're making sure we're getting responses quickly and then you can gauge from there. But it all depends on where you're at as far as marketing budget goes, marketing dollars.
And it's a lot, I always compare marketing with recruiting. You've got these certain things that you just outlined, Chelsea, a lot of things you just outlined in like a couple minutes there. And at the end of that spectrum, we've got two human beings. One's a prospect and one's called a client, hopefully. And the same thing with recruiting. There's all these things you do. And then we have these two people called a candidate and hopefully an employee, right? Yeah. But there's the same tactics. We're both selling a job. That's really what we're doing in our company and how we can take care of you and why you're going to love working here or why you're going to love using our service. And so all of that is aligned with, and I always, I shouldn't say always, at times I'll get a client every now and again that says, I don't want to spend that much money to get an employee. And I'm like, you might have to spend $500 to get an employee. Do you understand that they're going to produce like $200,000, $300,000 of revenue for you, right? Are you sure $500 is too much for that? And that's pretty much, guaranteed money if your marketing is in place. So same thing with the marketing budget. I mean, there's, it's the same thing. It's a numbers game. And, I often read online, I don't know, these signs aren't working. I put out 50 and, we got one customer from that, or we got one, it's like, okay, so that means put out 300 and guess how many customers you're going to get, right? And that's a $5,000 job or a $10,000, whatever it is. And forget about commercial. I don't even know what is an average ticket, do you think? I know it depends on a lot of things, residential wise. That's probably easier to maybe get your arms around rather than a big commercial type of ticket.
Okay, of course, it all depends on where you live. I live in Southern California, very high market. So I'm just going to give you a range and say an average ticket is most likely going to be between $1,500 and $2,500. That's what you can expect from residential. In the commercial space, we have a graph and we kind of did all our calculations internally and we're like, okay, 5 years ago, maybe our average job was, 15,000 and now our average job is 35,000, nice. But we have a couple whales in there too. So you never know, but it's like, You can see the growth, and with commercial, your profit margins and same with residential, but your profit margins are pretty high in commercial, 75, 85%, which is insane, less your equipment and your labor, but you just look at those things. And a lot of this can be scary too for people when they're like, we see people, there's a couple things, right? When it comes to people who sign up for training and it's either like, almost like desperation. Like I have to do this. My family has to survive. I need a way out. I need to leave that 9 to 5, whatever it is. And then you have other people where it's like, I just need to be the best, Either way, I can work with either client, but those are kind of like the two that we get.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And we tell people, cause they're like, wow, your training is expensive. Like we can go to this free training. And I'm like, hey, I understand that our training is expensive, and that's because we have year-round in-house staff. For us, we have people that are educated. They know what they're talking about. They're here to guide you. They're here to help you. And we have salaries we have to pay year-round. And we're constantly trying to provide you new education and information. And so there's definitely more value there. I mean, you could see people, you take a small training, and like you said, you take 20 years of experience, and you combine it into 2 days of training and we say, here you go, you're ready to go. And we'll even give you the resources to train those people that you're hiring. Yeah. But it's like all of this stuff, could you learn it on your own? Of course you could go hire people on your own. Of course you could go watch YouTube videos, but who has time for that? Right. I would rather pay someone who can help me, guide me, give me the resources, because I'm going to save how much time and make so much more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Big time. And it just takes one or two things that you should not have done or should have done to ruin your whole season
Yeah.
because you went on YouTube and decided to, I had a dishwasher problem and I went on YouTube and I'm like, it sounds like it would blow up my freaking house. It's like, I could have done that and burned my house down, but I decided not to, I decided to or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I ended up, anyway, with that, so let's get focused on ClippaCon a little bit more. And I know I'm a big fan of John too, as far as leads and stuff like that. He's, I'm sure, involved somewhere along the line with this. So talk a little bit about the vendors, speakers, and education, or whatever you want to talk about with ClippaCon.
So our keynote speaker is Josh Latimer, which is he's like the home service king. If you've ever seen him speak, he's absolutely amazing.
Speaking of marketing.
Yeah, no, he's so good. Which I'm so glad he was like, I'd love to participate. How can I be involved? Because he makes it really easy to learn from him and to get motivated. I sat through he was a keynote at another show earlier this year that I was at, and I was like, wow, I'm going to leave Clipa and go start my own business, No, but I still have the notes in my phone, and I was like, brought him back, and I was like, hey, these are all the things that we need to be doing. And it was just like, I felt really inspired and motivated. And I felt like I left his class with actionable items, which I think are really important. A lot of times we can go and, get as much inspiration and knowledge as possible. But it's like, what are we doing after these shows? Are we like actually implementing things? So he's amazing. Of course, John Majek is involved. He will be speaking. And Mr. Pipeline is actually our show sponsor, which is amazing. So we're doing a couple things because for us, the show is primarily education. So of course we have 2 days, 2 classrooms you can choose from, employee or employer. So that's the nice part. We'll have some hands-on classes, and then we'll have some like higher level stuff, which may involve like, business coaching or anything that you might need as far as a business owner level. But we want to make sure too, like, hey, if you do want to bring some of your employees that maybe want to learn and get some education, there'll be classes that will be helpful to them too, to make sure that they can continue learning. And then of course we'll have a few social events. So we have a welcome reception the night before, which is awesome. We're expecting about 200 attendees, which is amazing. And then plus we'll have our vendors. So we're going to have a cocktail, that welcome reception the first day, and then we'll have an offsite social event for day 2, which will be amazing. So I think, of course, the education is awesome, but the networking that takes place is really where the magic happens, where you're like, hey, I didn't know that having this conversation with this person, like we could partner on this, and that stuff you don't want to miss out on. So planning on doing that. Women's luncheon, we've been doing that for a few years now, just to honor all of the Christmas queens out there. So that'll be really fun. But yeah, ClippaCon is going to be a lot of fun. It's actually at a great time too. Sometimes we do it earlier in the year, but it really depends. Doing it in August on the 19th and the 20th gives people a little reprieve from the washing side. Maybe things are kind of down, or the landscaping side. You have a little bit of break before fall cleanup, but before the season starts. So we're hoping that we can just jumpstart everyone to be like, let's rock and roll. Let's get it going.
That's awesome. And obviously I've been there. I was there the last couple of years, and I can tell you, like, I talked to a lot of people at the events, and I've talked to people that are in tears, wondering how they're going to do things with business. Literally have talked to people that for 2 hours. I remember one event with you guys, and I sat down for 2 hours and talked to this guy who's a client of ours now, and he is just no longer crying and worrying about things in life, and his wife and him are getting along dandy, and life is a lot better now. And so that's the type of people, though, that go to ClippaCon on both ends of that spectrum. You've got somebody that is in dire need of figuring things out in their business. You've got people that are experienced and are just trying to maybe get to the next level. How do I delegate this to the guy that I'm bringing along? So wherever you fit on that spectrum of experience, or what you're feeling about your business, where you want it, we all want a better, bigger business and all that stuff, but you will be able to talk and fit in just fine wherever you are on that spectrum, because that was always a concern I had years ago. I wasn't a big convention guy and conference guy. Now people are, trying to kick me out of them now because I show up to too many of them, but now I couldn't imagine going a year without going to a couple conferences. Just really couldn't imagine it. And like I said, there's wherever you are on that, I mean, you're going to fit in just perfectly because somebody is going to come up and talk to you and probably have a question. And then you're going to start to see how you can identify where they're at. And you're going to be able to help somebody. And when you talk to somebody or listen to somebody, you have no idea how you're helping somebody else just by being there and being part of a tribe of people that are just trying to do good and make some money along the way, you know. And I've seen it for the last several years there.
Yeah, no, you said that perfect because it is true. It's like oftentimes I think, what am I going to get from this show? What is this going to do for me? But in all reality, it's like, what am I going to contribute? I've been doing this. Do I have something to say? How can I help someone else that's here? Because really, for me, the reason why I've been so successful in commercial sales is because I'm constantly teaching it and providing education to other people. I have to stay up on it. I have to continue learning because I'm going to share my experience with someone else, you know?
Right.
And I feel good when other people are making money and they're like being successful. I'm like, this is why I do it. This is why I've been here, because I'm like, this is to see people like, hey, I gave you the recipe, you made the cake, and now you're winning awards. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and you guys, you know, we're a little bit similar in that we started around 2017, somewhere in there. And we were the first to recruit the way that we recruit, sort of like an ad agency, not a staffing agency or any of that temp agency and that sort of thing. We were the first in the home service industry to do that. Now we're not the only ones in that marketplace anymore. And, you know, at first you just go, well, what are you doing? Why? We just worked so hard on putting this business model together. Now you're doing it, literally doing everything we're doing. And I used to get upset about that. I no longer do. I understand it's a compliment now, and it's really just making us get better. And we really pride ourselves on having the best customer service. We're not perfect, but nobody has got better customer service than we do, which is another thing that we have in common, I think, with all the stuff and all the cake. And here's the cake, go out and do it. And you're going to be fine. And you're going to be eating the cake and loving it. But you are there after the convention and after the training and after all that better, I think, than anybody I've heard of anyway.
Yeah. I mean, most importantly, we answer the phone, of course, you know, and we don't claim to be perfect. Like, stuff's going to go wrong in season. One, if you're in the Christmas industry already, you know, like I would say like November is a month of solutions, not problems. I was talking to a vendor and I was like, oh gosh, he's like, I have a lot of solutions this month. I'm like, I love that. Because it's true, you know, like shipping speeds are going to be delayed. You're going to order the wrong thing. Like that stuff's going to happen. But it's all in like, how do you deal with that, you know? And so we do try to do our best to make sure we're always there, no matter what. Call, text, Facebook message, whatever that is. And we're going to try to help you. If you do message me, though, in the evening, 9 p.m., I'm probably not going to respond. However, during the day, during business hours, I will get back to you. But in season, we know, too, like I have so many people that are like, can I FaceTime with you right now? I'm on a roof and it's 7 p.m. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm inside of a tree right now. Let's FaceTime. You know? We'll make sure we help. And then if we can't, we have a bunch of certified trainers that have experience that can help you and guide. And that's the most important thing is like, if we don't have the answer, we're going to get it for you. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that because we haven't really touched on that. It's not just Clipa and two people got together, started Facebook. That's where it started, but you guys have expanded and have a lot of people that you've trained that are very talented in growing a Christmas light business and permanent light and so on. And actually, I know some that have actually gotten out of some of the other things they were doing and just getting into the lighting industry now.
Yeah, which is amazing because you see what in our certified trainers, you see like the proof is in the pudding, what lighting has done for them, how they've been able to grow the business and expand. And we always tell people like, hey, it may not happen for you that way, but we have to remember too, they've been doing this 10, 8, 7 years. That's a long time. That's a long time to really put your heart and soul in it and make it work. And a lot of trial and error. And so, it's not one of those get rich quick things like one season I'm going to make a bunch of money. It's like I really do have to be invested and continue to hire, train, educate, and invest in quality products to be successful. And you will be,
And you guys have the future now. I mean, you're too busy doing your job out there. You have no idea what's on the market or what's coming around the corner. You guys are a couple steps ahead of everybody on that.
Of course. And one thing too, so our certified trainers are on all different parts of the US, which is great because everybody's weather is different. Market is different. But one thing is that they will tell you is that it's not a race to the bottom. Nobody wants to be the $99 guy. If you're not making money doing this, it's probably not worth it, right? We're not a nonprofit. And I always tell people, I'm like, it is different for me because I'm an employee for a company. And for me, I'm a commission-based employee at that. So when I'm selling jobs, the company has to make money, because if the company's not making money, I'm not making money. Where it's different, a lot of these business owners I work with are like, oh, I just want to do it for this price. I'm like, but you're not going to make any money. And they were like, I know, but I really want to get this job. I'm like, I get that. But if I was to direct you right now to break even and not break a profit, I would not be doing my job. I want you to be successful. The way that I or you feel about money is not how my customer feels about money. And I need to hold my value, because we also encourage everybody, you need to have general liability and you need to have workers' comp. If you're not willing to be insured, don't even look at a Christmas light. Don't even do it. Don't even sneeze in that direction. So it's like right there, if I have general liability, if I have workers' comp, that's expensive. If my employees are lift certified or going through any training, that's expensive. So when I'm selling these projects, I'm building value. Hey, it's important. My team is lift certified. We've been trained. We're always continuing education because we're investing in our employees. I want everyone to know. That's important. And that's why our pricing is going to be a little bit higher than someone else because of what you get with it. And people understand, but you can't just be like, oh, my prices are more because I say so. No, my prices are more because X, Y, and Z, we're worth it.
Awesome. All right, we're going to wrap it up. I've got Clipa.com going across the screen. So just click on there, learn a little bit more. Tickets, registration and stuff is open now, I'm assuming, Chelsea?
Yeah. When you go to ClipaCon, you can see the ClipaCon tab, and you can also see the training schedule. You can sign up. If you'd like some more information too, there's a contact form on there. If you're like, hey, I just want to get some more details, fill that out, and one of us will be in contact with you to make sure we can get you whatever you need. And even if you're just not sure, we're still happy to jump on a phone call with you guys and see how we can help.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping on. I appreciate it. It was good to see you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sean.
Okay. Take good care, everybody. God bless.